right? You're here because you want to be. You're here because you chose to be. And because you chose to be, you've taken that very first really hard step of committing to a plan, right? Okay, so now that you've done that commitment, let's stick to it. Okay? So here's the little things to take away. When you're going home, here's what I want you to take away. I want you to remember two things. Number one, that you can do this. This is not impossible. That with training, anything is possible. Okay? And number two, I want you to remember that you must have a goal. So, while we have a few minutes left, let's start verbalizing what our goal might be. Your goal is to do something in 30 days with your $45. Your goal is to do something in 30 days with your $150 or $150. Your goal is about the same. Okay, your goal is about the same. I want you guys to think about and start throwing at me what you're going to do with that money. What could you do with $150 in 30 days? I have some ideas. You could buy Bon Jovi tickets. Bon Jovi's coming to concert in May, right? You could go on a cruise. You could go to a spa. Okay? You can go out to eat, which is my favorite thing to do. We usually go out to one really nice restaurant once a month where we actually have to get dressed up and actually go out on a date with my wife. Since we've been married for 17 years and we don't date anymore, I actually do that as a couple thing. But you can do that with your money. Think, think, think. Put some thought to it. Be creative, okay? But make sure that your goal is something you can stick to and really want to do. I firmly believe that having a goal you can visualize on and focus on will make the difference for you. Because guess what? There's going to be some days that are going to be hard. Okay? You're going to be looking at me and going, oh my gosh, how am I going to get through this? Possibly. Okay? But I really want you guys to know a couple of things. After you haven't smoked a cigarette for 48 hours, you're no longer addicted. Did you hear what I said? After you haven't smoked a cigarette for 48 hours, you're no longer addicted. Now we're dealing with dependency. And how do we deal with dependency? By weaning ourselves off of it. Think about it. Think about welfare. How do you get yourself off of welfare? How does that happen? By pulling yourself up and going through it and getting out. You must go through the motions in order to do it. Welfare is just like this. It's exactly the same thing. You people who are on welfare are dependent upon welfare. That's why we have generations of welfare. So instead of having that problem, what I want you to do is figure out your way out of it. You must see your way out. In order to get from here to here, we have to climb a few steps. Okay? But it's not impossible, is it? I haven't smoked for 10 years. This is my therapy. I come and do this class to help me ground myself and help to remember why I quit. Okay? And if this isn't enough for you, go visit an oncology ward. Check out Florida Children's Hospital Oncology Ward. That'll fix you. This is what we do. This is why we quit. We quit so we don't have that problem, right? What kind of cancer do you think is the #1 cancer caused by smoking? You think? No. Bladder cancer. Why?
No idea.
Because we pee out the toxins and they stick in our bladder. That's why.
Really?
You think it's lungs, right?
Yeah.
And lungs are huge, and that's definitely a cancer that's associated with tobacco, okay? But bladder cancer, colon cancer, these cancers exist too, and they're directly related right back to smoking. What about COPD? Emphysema. If you're a chewer, leukoplakia, dental issues. These things exist. They're real, okay? And cancer is just one small side of tobacco. It's not the only side. There's other parts. And this is the most expensive thing the DoD spends on healthcare. Tobacco. Okay, if you think of all the things we spend as the Department of Defense for healthcare, tobacco is what we spend the most money on. Okay, so do you think that this problem exists in the world?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have AA meetings for tobacco smokers? No, but it's probably the #1 used drug in the world besides alcohol, right? So why do you think that it's legal and not illegal?
Money. All about money.
Which money? Whose money?
Government's.
Right. So what about the money from the guy who makes this quit smoking drug? Is there money involved in that?
Yeah.
What about the guy who builds the cigarettes? What about the guy who buys the tobacco from the fields? What about the guy who engineers that? You know, if you look at companies like Philip Morris, these are umbrella companies for other things. If you start looking a little deeper, what does Johnson & Johnson's actually do? How many companies do they actually own? How many of those companies are actually, this is the bad guy and this is the good guy, and the good guy helps fight the bad guy, but it's the same company. How do we do that? How come we're blind to these things anymore? I like to look at the big facts, okay? So as soon as you understand what's going on, you understand how to quit. And I just don't want to feed any more money into people like Philip Morris. I just don't want them to have my money anymore. You know, because I'm thinking for myself. Do you want to have somebody else control you, or do you want to be in control of yourself? See, when we're dependent upon something, that means this person makes our choices. How many times has tobacco made choices for you? Think about that. How many times have we said, I really need a cigarette break? Man, I wish I had a cigarette right now. Oh my God, what would I do for a cigarette? How many times have we said that? Right? How many times have we been so dependent upon this to get through stress, like stocking, right? Or inventory, or fiscal year, end of fiscal year inventory. Oh, that's a good one, right? How many times have we used these things to get through our kids, our fights with our spouses, our fights with our parents, our fights with the school, our fights with the DMV, our fights with whatever, okay? We have got to come up with a better way. And I choose to not throw my money on cigarettes anymore. I'm not saying to go start drinking now, okay? But what I am saying is let's put our brain to use here for a second, you know? How many smart people smoke cigarettes, do you think?
There's a lot of smart people.
Yeah, because being smart has nothing to do with it, right? How many doctors and nurses right outside the ER you see smoking? They're smart people. These are the people that are saving our lives, yet they're out here killing themselves with cigarettes. Why? Because they're doing the same thing we're doing. They're dependent upon it for their stress, right? And deal with a patient that came in and yelled at them because they sucked and got their degree out of a Cracker Jack box or whatever people say to doctors. You know, so he went out and smoked because he was stressed. And that's what he does, okay? But we have to understand that there's a better way. So, how do we get through our stress? In the last 5 minutes, let's go up with some stress concepts. How are we going to get through stress without smoking? What can you do? What are good things to relieve your stress?
Take a walk.
Okay, exercise. What do you think? You work every day. How do you get rid of your stress? I know there's some bad airmen in comm somewhere. What do you do? Okay, so we deep breathe, right? Like Lamaze. Sounds really silly, but it works. Okay, 10 deep cleansing breaths from our diaphragm. Man, 10 times, feel better. Your blood pressure goes down. Your metabolic rate goes down. Overall wellness improves. Okay, and you can do that right in the car. You can do that right in the BX. You can do that right in Comm Squadron. I don't know where you work, but you can do it right there. Okay?
I don't work, I'm retired.
Okay, there you go. So, but you can do it wherever you need to do it. You know what I'm saying? So if you're in your car, right, and some jackwagon cuts you off, right, how are you going to do that? You can take 10 deep breaths. Believe it or not, it works. Don't flip them the bird. Don't do that. Don't be that guy.
Oh well, there
Okay?
goes another one.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But these are the things that we have to come up with, you know. And for in-the-car smokers or people who are smokers right outside their porch, put some busy foods there. That's a whole other class. But guess what?
Busy food.
Busy foods are things you have to manipulate with your hands, like grapes, sunflower seeds, popcorn. Is a great one. Let's see, what's a little nut that you have to peel? Pistachios. Anything you have to do. Okay? Because what happens with the pistachios is you have to actually crack that shell. Okay? So you're doing something, and because we do something with our hands while we're smoking, right? This is part of the equation. You have to think about your equations. What do I do? When I'm smoking a cigarette, what am I doing? I'm doing this, right? All the time, right? So you're doing this with grapes, except when we gain 25 pounds, if we do this with cookies and chocolates and all the other things that we want to throw in our lives because we're not doing this anymore, okay? So that's why we have an exercise physiologist coming next week and a dietitian coming the week after. We have dental clinic coming here to show you how you're helping your teeth, okay? We have other people planning into this course. It's really smart, so don't miss any days. Sit down and actually do the course. Actually think it through and listen to the experts talk about what they know and help you quit, because you can. Okay? Quitting smoking is very simple when we understand the 4 or 5 small things we must do to do it. Okay? My goal is to be a little cheerleader for you, to let you know what you can do, to help encourage you that this isn't the hardest thing on the planet to do, that you're not addicted to crack and would kill your mother for that drug called a cigarette. Okay? That's addiction. Dependency is, man, I really need a cigarette. Addiction is, I'm going to kill somebody for a cigarette, or I'm going to kill somebody for my drug. That's the difference. There's a line we don't cross with tobacco. We just don't cross it. Okay? So I want you guys to understand the differences between the two. Yeah, you're hooked on nicotine right now. Okay? But guess what? After 2 full days of not smoking, guess what? You can't say that anymore. Now you got to throw that out the window and actually stick to it. Because you're not addicted. Now, I'm hooked. But I can do it. Right? So we're showing you how to pull that barb out of the hook and pull that thing on out so that we can do this and actually successfully quit. So congratulations, you've reached day 1 of your tobacco cessation class. Okay, the next few days are going to be a challenge for you. But I want you to know that we want you to smoke, but less for the next week. We want you to come to the pharmacy to get your meds. That's the next step for you. Whatever you chose to do on the form. Okay, after we look at your file and we review you, we're going to make sure it's medically safe to give you what you asked for. If not, we'll suggest something else. Okay? Then you come to the pharmacy, you pick up your stuff, and you start. That's it. You're in this course for a month. It's going to be a good month. February 2011, this is your month right here. Or March 2011, sorry. This is your month, right? So I think that we have to think about that. We have to be positive about it, and you have to be open with it. And don't lie to yourself. Tell yourself, you know what? I can do this. And yeah, life sucks sometimes. Yeah, sometimes things happen. Yeah, sometimes we have things that come out of nowhere. That's called external stress, right? But you know there's 2 kinds of stress, right? Good stress and bad stress. So you have to kind of play that card and determine what's going to work for you. Because eustress and distress are the 2 types of stress that we have. And I want you to make sure that the eustress is challenging yourself to quit. That's your challenge. It's going to be a little stressful, but you can do it. It's not the hardest thing you've ever done before, because you've quit before, right? Everybody in this room has quit before, right? So you know you can. Okay, so what? You didn't do it last time. Who cares? I told you 9 times, right? I am an example of people who can do it. It can happen, and you can do it successfully. And you can walk through a cloud of smoke and not want it. Or get through it, because you have a plan. And in my plan, I use it all the time. I use gum, mints, some kind of something all the time to get rid of that desire to want to do it. Okay? So congratulations, you've come through class number 1. Does anybody have any questions for me?
When do we pick up our minutes?
Soon, next couple of days.
Okay.
How about you?
I do have a question.
Okay.
Because I'm going to be TDY next week.
Okay.
So can I make up or how do I
When are
do
you
that?
leaving?
Huh?
When are you leaving?
Sunday. I'm leaving Sunday
Okay.
night.
Can you make up the day you missed? Yes.
Okay.
And thank you for telling us in advance. Okay? That's all I ask. If you're going to miss a day because you have something happen, call us. Let us know. That way we can count for you, and we'll get you that training. How about you? Any questions? Sir, any questions?
Yeah, when you pick up your meds, you gotta go to that one window or?
When you pick up your meds, you're going to go to window A, B, or C. You're going to ask to speak to Sergeant Brown. B-R-O-W-N. Normally it would be me, but I'm on leave. So you're going to talk to Brown. Okay? And Brown is my backup. And every time you pick up a box of medicine for smoking in the class, whether it's this month or next month, because I'm going to have you on it for 90 days, you have to come in and speak to us, and we talk to you when we find out how you're doing. Okay? And it's not to be mean, it's to have it so I can figure it out and put it in my log. Okay? Anybody else have questions?
So Friday or Monday or something like that, then, right?
Yes, sir. I would prefer you to do it this week. Okay? That way you're quitting before the weekend. Okay? My goal is to have your medication ready for you as early as tomorrow. It just may not happen that fast because I'm not there to actually crack the whip and make that happen. But I want you to know that the pharmacy knows about you. We will have your medications ready, and it will be done by at least Friday. Okay? So my goal is to generally call you and let you know, hey, come pick up your stuff. That's what I'm going to ask them to do for you this time. So don't feel like you got to go out there and then wait around for somebody not to have it ready, okay? Pharmacy wants to be seamless with it. So as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to go over there and make sure that we get your names in and get you started. Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. That's it. Have a good one. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.